Hey everyone, Cahlen here. Yesterday I made a video about how I live outside, and a number of people actually asked me how I deal with insects and small critters like rodents and things like that. So here I am, still in bed. And I mean, this would be the place that people would probably be most worried that they would get bothered by those type of things. So I've been living outside again for almost a year now, like completely, but also I did spend many years sleeping in my truck, and while I was doing that I was also sleeping outside often. And also before that I spent a couple of years living in yurts on a permaculture farm where I was sleeping again on the ground pretty much. And during all of that time, you know, it's probably 5 years, 6 years, I've never really had any problem with insects or... Here's Charlie. Hey Charlie, good morning. Never really had trouble with insects and or rodents. I mean, I can't really think of anything serious with rodents. So basically, I think that it's either due to my choices of where I've lived, but I don't think that's such a big factor. I think they're just really not as much of a big deal as people think they are. So while for insects, so there are some biting insects, you know, sometimes during certain times of year, if you have standing water around you, sure, then you have to shield your face because you're going to be protected in your sleeping bag from like mosquitoes, but your head's going to be sticking out. So I have this bug net. It just goes over my head, and if it's one of those days where there's going to be lots of mosquitoes, I have this on, and that pretty much does the job. And honestly, I rarely ever have to do that. But again, it has a lot to do with where your location is. Where I am, there are lots of ants, there are lots of spiders, and you know, I do get these things crawling on me, but they never really crawl on me in like large numbers. And honestly, I don't think I've ever been bitten by, well, I have been bit by ants, not while sleeping, but I walk barefoot, and so sometimes ants will bite my feet. But in all of this time, I don't think I've been once bitten by a spider. And I see spiders all over the place, and I see spiders all over my clothes, all over my inside of my sleeping bag. Like, that definitely happens. So I used to be someone who's scared of spiders, but I'm kind of over it. I've never once been bitten by a spider while living outside. And you know, there are some pretty creepy spiders where I live. Big ones, black widows, stuff like that. But you know, it's just never been a problem. And even if I did get bitten, most spiders aren't going to cause a problem. And some that might, you know, like for example black widow, it's always largely just going to be a really painful experience. And brown recluse, you know, you just need to make sure that you're treating that. And I would try a lot of different things, which I feel like at least one of the things that I would have available to me, like high dose vitamin C or chlorine dioxide, or you know, things like that, would pretty much take care of the problem. So anyways, the insects for me, you know, people think it's going to be a big problem, but generally it's not. Just don't sleep on an anthill. Don't leave a bunch of food around your camp, and that's not going to be a problem. Now for critters, basically, I mean, sometimes I hear critters walking around, but they generally can kind of sense that you're nearby, and they won't. Now I'm remembering a critter story. So while I was living, I guess I wasn't really living outside, I was living in the wizard hut. If you go back about a year and a half from now, you'll see some videos from the wizard hut. And there was a mouse that would sneak into my room, and he would come at night, and he would come to eat the little crumbs that maybe I had left on the ground when I was preparing my food or eating my food. And so, you know, I would turn on my little red light and just watch him running around eating stuff. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, I never really had anything like that while I was sleeping. I think animals can generally tell that there's a human there, and so they stay away. So also it's important, so here's my camp. It's important to have food containers like these, you know, that animals aren't going to be able to get into, right? It would take a rat, you know, a rat may never even be able to eat through this plastic, and if they were able to, it would take them quite a long time. And so it wouldn't be, you know, I would hear it, I would wake up, and so anyways, for the smaller animals, again, I haven't had really any trouble, even though they really are all over the place. where I am. So I don't know if I'm lucky or if it's just kind of like something that people worry about too much. I'm not sure, but in my case, just not a problem. So bigger animals, of course, can be a problem, but and I have had a bear, and this was before I actually started living outside. I was just backpacking with my girlfriend up in the mountains in the Olympic Mountains of Washington, up at some serene lake, and I had gone fishing, and I cooked nearby camp, which was a really bad idea. Don't cook fish nearby your camp. You're going to attract all kinds of animals. Don't cook anything meaty near your camp. But anyways, there was a bear outside my tent sniffing about this close to my head. So, but then he went and did something else. But anyways, larger animals also have not really been a problem, but I do maintain the ability to do something about them. I carry a walking stick, which can take care of animals which are about the size of a dog very easily. And I also have pepper spray, which is helpful. And then when I'm really way out in the wilderness and stuff like that, I will take other self-defense items, which you're probably familiar with, in case things get serious and it comes down to more serious interventions. So, yep, that's the deal with insects and critters, and sometimes bigger things. So, basically, I've been doing this a while, haven't really had any problems. You have to get over this creepiness that you feel about things being on you and spiders maybe being on you and stuff like that. But honestly, it's not as serious as everyone thinks. So that's my rundown on that. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please consider sharing it. If you'd like to help me out in a more substantial way, you can learn how to do so at cahlen.org/gift. And if you'd like to have a one-on-one conversation with me, whether publicly or privately, you can learn how to do so at cahlen.org/one-on-one. Thanks again for watching.